Okay, whenever I ask the definition of compiler, what is compiler? Most of the students says it is a software which converts high level language to low level language. Okay, it is correct, but it is not the correct definition, but it is partially correct. You can just consider, yes, it is a correct definition. But what is a compiler? So just write down, compiler is a translator. Okay, just note down some points. Compiler is a translator. Compiler is a translator which can translate a source language into some target language. Compiler is a translator which can convert source language into target language, and source language could be anything and target language could be anything. Practically, we use a compiler to convert high level language to low level language, but the correct definition is it is a translator which can convert source language into target language, and source language could be anything and target language could be anything. Okay, now next is, okay, now I'm not discussing why do we need compiler and so on, the concepts like why do we need compiler, what is the purpose of compiler and so on. So just next we'll write down what is program and programming language. Just write down what is program and programming language. Okay, first of all we have discussed what is compiler. So compiler is a translator which can translate source language into target language. The source language could be anything, target language could be anything, but in practically we use a source language as a high level language. This is a high level language most of the time, and it is a low level language. It is correct. Most of the time we use compiler to convert high to low level language, but it is not correct because we can use a translator for any kind of language. It may be low to low, it may be high to high, it may be anything, but practically we use for high level to low level language. So the basic definition is the translator, compiler is a translator which is used to translate high to low, source language to target language. It is correct. Okay, now next is program and programming language. So my question is, what is program and programming language? It is just a basic concept. So just write down what is program. Just write down, program is a sequence of instructions. You say it is a set of instructions. Okay, correct, but the correct definition is sequence of instructions. So program is a sequence of instructions. What is program? It is a sequence of instruction. Now what is programming language? What is programming language? Programming language is, just write down what is programming language. Programming language is a notation by which we can specify. Programming language is a notation by which we can specify the data operations and the data operations and instructions. The data operations and instructions. The data operation and instructions. So what is compiler? What is program? What is programming language? You know all these concepts. What is program is a sequence of instructions. What is programming language? It is just a notation by which we can we can give a command or we write some data or instructions. Okay, now. So next is steps in program execution. It is important. The steps in program execution. Now it is important. What is program? What is programming language? The definition is not important for you as in compiler, but now it is important. Steps in program execution. Just write down steps in program execution. See. steps in program execution. It is important. Why it is important? Just see. What is program execution? Yes, anyone? What is program execution? So just write down the definition of program execution. The process in which computer performs instruction. The process in which the computer performs instructions. It is called program execution. Program execution means when the computer performs each and every instruction written in your program. This is called program is in execution. Program execution. Okay, the process in which computer performs instructions is program execution. Now, there are certain steps by which computer performs instruction. Means if you say program is in execution, means the computer is performing some steps. What are they? So just write down. First step is pre-processing. First step is pre-processing. Next is compilation. Next is assembling. Next is linking. Loading. Last is run. Okay, now, so steps in program execution. Whenever you write a program and you want to run it, you have to just execute it. You have to execute the program. Then steps in program execution. Why it is important? Just check. Practically, what you do, you just write a program in some IDE like Turbo C++ or Dev C++ and any other thing, and you just press a tab that is called compile, and behind that tab, your IDE or your machine performs all these operations. And what do you think? Compiler is doing all these things. Actually, compilation is just a one part of your program execution. And the work of compiler is only to find errors. To find errors in your program. The work of compiler is only to find errors in your program. Now, but practically, when you press the compile button on your IDE, it performs all these steps. And you think compiler is doing all these things. It is not correct. Compiler is just a one part of program execution, so its duty is only to find errors. Then just check the steps. First of all, whenever you want to run a program, then first of all pre-processing is done, and it is done by preprocessor. Preprocessor done this pre-processing, that is preprocessor. And you know what is preprocessor? The hash in your program, that is hash included and so on. So we will not go in detail, much detail on this, but you can just write down for your memory or for revision. You can say, what is preprocessing? Preprocessing means to expand the program. Means first of all, preprocessor is the module which acts on your program and it expands the program. Okay, so just write down few lines. Preprocessing means to expand the program. Means if you write the program with 5 to 6 lines, it will be expanded to 250 or 300 lines, maybe because of preprocessing. It includes all the files in your header files into your program. So just write down preprocessing means it is done by preprocessor. It expands the source programs. It expands the source program. Now, expanded source program will be given to the compiler. So compiler do compilation. So here compiler do compilation. Okay, now then compiler find errors in the program if there is any. If there is no error, then the output of the compiler will be given to the assembler. The output of the compiler will be given to the assembler. And what is the output of the compiler? And what is the output of the compiler? It may be some intermediate code, you will say. Just as of now, just remember, it is some intermediate code. The output of the compiler is some intermediate code. Okay, now, so the output of the compiler will be given to the assembler, and assembler will do assembling, and it will create object file. Then that object file will be given to the linker, and linker will produce exe file, and it will be loaded into the RAM, and finally it will run. So this steps in program execution is not so important for the gate. I just want to let you know the compilation, and meaning of compilation is to find errors only. Errors only. That's why I have discussed these all things, because meaning of compiler is only to find errors. It doesn't mean that it expands the program, it will create a exe. No, nothing. It is just find the error and it will create object file. Okay, now listen, this assembling phase, this assembling step is optional. Most of the time, what you will see, preprocessing, compilation, linking, and loading. So the output of the compiler will be object file, and that object file will be made exe by linker, and then it will run. Okay, so assembling part is optional here. I have used this. It has some reason. We will talk about it later. But for now, you just write down assembling is optional. It is not necessarily not mandatory part, but preprocessing, compilation, linking, loading, these are all compulsory. Assembling the assembler part is optional. So just remember one thing, use of compiler or the duty of compiler is only to find errors. It will not do preprocessing, it will not do the part of linker, it will not load the program, it will not run the program. It just finds the errors in the program and it makes object file of the program. The object file is intermediate code. We will see it later. Okay, now if there is any doubt, then you can ask, but I will say to understand it, you have to read some book, because it is again very important, but it will take some time to explain, and it is not important for gate in compiler design. So just what it is given, just have a look on it and just write down. This is the phase of the this is the steps in program execution. This is compilation. Of assembling is optional. Assembler part is optional. Compilation means the duty of compiler is to find errors, and the output of compiler is object file. You can see intermediate code and so on. Fine. Next, you write model of a compiler. Model of a compiler. Okay, now. Next is model of a compiler. So you can write like this is your compiler. Then it has two more modules inside, that is analysis and another is synthesis. This is analysis and synthesis model of a compiler. What is the meaning? I will tell you, just write down. This is your whole compiler, and the compiler inside it has two modules. Okay, now listen, Manu Kumar Chaudhary, intermediate code is same as object file. We will discuss it later, just to have some patience. When I will tell you the phases of the compiler, then you will get the answer. Okay, now, so just write on, first of all, just see model of a compiler. Model of a compiler means it has two modules inside, that is analysis and synthesis. You can say it is analysis synthesis model of a compiler. What is the meaning of this? When you give a program to the compiler, then for you compiler is just a single module, but inside the compiler it has some steps how to find error, and the whole process how to find error is divided into two parts. One is analysis, another is synthesis. Fine. So to find the error in the program, compiler first do analysis and then it do synthesis. Then what is the analysis? What is synthesis? Just write down. Analysis means to break. Just write down in short. What is the meaning of analysis? Analysis means to break the source program. To break the source program into some constituent pieces. To break the source program into some constituent pieces. And it creates intermediate representation. What is intermediate representation? We will see. Don't worry. It is very interesting. I will tell you all bit and bytes of this. So just keep patience and just write on for now. Analysis synthesis model of a compiler. So analysis means to break the program into some constituent pieces and creates intermediate representation. Now, what is the meaning of synthesis? Synthesis means, just write down. Synthesis means to combine the constituent pieces. And to construct desired target program. And to construct desired target program.